A widower from Portsmouth has started a campaign to stop VAT being charged on headstones after he found he couldn't afford one for his wife's grave. Bill Geary was stunned when he was told a memorial is seen as a luxury item and he would have to pay £100 in tax. His local MP Mike Hancock is taking his fight to the House of Commons. 6 people have been injured after 2 cars collided in the New Forest. 2 of the victims were trapped in the wreckage and had to be freed by firefighters. The accident happened last night on Harrow Road in Branshaw by the Cat and Fiddle pub. South West Trains and the RMT union are to meet today to try to resolve the rail dispute. Commuters face misery again next week with strike action spreading over 4 days, beginning at midday on Monday. This is the first time both sides will have met for a month. An ancient tree in Wiltshire has undergone urgent surgery in an attempt to save it. The Big Belly Oak, as it's known, is believed to be more than 1,000 years old, but a huge split was discovered in its trunk.
The Big Belly Oak is a well-known landmark in the Savernake forest on the side of the A346 near Marlborough. Its distinctive bulbous trunk is one of its best features, but now old age is beginning to show. A routine survey found a large crack which had to be repaired for the safety of motorists passing underneath.
Because it's got a longitudinal split, we've got to stop the tree actually falling apart. So by placing a steel band around the tree, we're hoping to hold the whole thing together.
The environmental benefit of that is fantastic. The habitat that it offers, the different ferns, the little mammals that will live in there, the bats, everything else. It's just a fantastic specimen of a tree.
Big Belly has now been bolted up and made stable. Hopefully the operation has gone some way to keeping it alive and well for some time to come. Claire Carter for Meridian News.
On then to travel news for you, and on the rails, South Central services between Littlehampton and Brighton via Worthing. They're being disrupted due to signalling problems in the West Worthing area, so do expect delays of up to 20 minutes. That's all the news from Meridian for now. We'll have bulletins, of course, throughout the morning for you. Our next at 8:05.
The weather in your region with Vino's.
A chilly and bright start, but clouding over quite early on with outbreaks of rain this afternoon, quite heavy at times. Top temperatures at 10 Celsius, 50 Fahrenheit. Evening showers will clear to leave a dry night with lows of 6 Celsius.
But the row continues over Labour's links with an Indian steel tycoon. The Prime Minister has angrily denied any wrongdoing over his backing for the Labour Party donor. And there's more unwelcome headlines this morning over controversial spin doctor Joe Moore, who's once again accused of trying to bury bad news. Well, Sue Jameson joins us now from Downing Street. Sue, Garbage Gate affair, it does seem to show very little signs of disappearing, doesn't it?
That's right, another normal day in politics, I suppose. And what it does do is show up yet again this extremely difficult relationship in this country between business and politics. Now, what happened is that Tony Blair wrote a letter to the Romanian president on behalf of a British company, partly because he was asked to do so by the British ambassador in Bucharest. Now, it turns out that the man who heads this company donated money to the Labour Party, around £125,000. Tony Blair didn't know that, he says, at the time. And then in the Commons yesterday, he said, even if I did, what am I supposed to do? My job is to support British business abroad. Now, there are many ins and outs of this that we really won't be able to go into because they're just so complex. But the Tories say, because this is a difficult situation and there is this complexity, we should at least have an inquiry.
Well, I guess there will be, because controversial spin doctor Joe Moore finds herself back in the headlines and more problems, I guess, for the government there.
Yes, I mean, they had a whole day's debate on Joe Moore in Parliament. That didn't shift her as the Tories wanted to, but here she is back on the front pages. She is the spin doctor who said September the 11th was a good day to bury bad news. Apparently, she wanted to put out some bad news on the day of Princess Margaret's funeral and was told not to. However, the Department of Transport says that there is no email that exists in this case at all. Joe Moore has angrily denied it.
OK, Sue, thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
With the rest of this morning's news, Carla Romano.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Good morning. Children as young as 2 years old are developing heart disease, according to new research. Doctors say many risk heart attacks in later life. Jonathan Swain reports.
Parents should think again before offering their children junk food. doctors have discovered that some children as young as 2 are already showing signs of heart disease. They believe the number of children who eat fatty foods and take no exercise has never been higher. If the trend continues, death rates will soar.
So in an average class of 30 children, it's estimated that 2 of those children will go on to develop coronary heart disease, 3 will go on to develop diabetes, and about 13 will develop or become obese as adults.
The research dismisses the idea that heart disease is purely an adult illness. So doctors are insisting that children should eat less food like this and do more of that if they want to live to an old age. To combat the disease, some primary school pupils are already being taught about how it's avoided.
That's true, because you got to use like fruits, vitamins and get your heart pumping.
Healthy food is right for us, but sometimes you're allowed to eat unhealthy food.
Heart attacks are rare before middle age, but if children's lifestyles don't change, the potential killer could soon skip down a generation. Jonathan Swain, GMTV News, Central London.
There's continuing concerns over the Queen Mum's health. She slipped and cut her arm at Sandringham yesterday, and today it's reported that she's too ill to eat. Our correspondent Alan Fisher joins us now live from Sandringham. Alan, good morning. Now, despite this latest setback, am I right in saying the Queen Mum is still determined to travel to Windsor today in preparation for Princess Margaret's funeral tomorrow?
Morning, Carla. Well, we're led to believe a decision will be made in the next few hours about whether or not she is fit to travel, but apparently, even at 101, she is determined to make the journey to Windsor to be there at the funeral of her younger daughter. That's despite, apparently, reports from Prince Charles and the Queen suggesting that the Queen Mother would be better staying at Sandringham and getting over the illness which has plagued her since before Christmas. Her last public appearance, of course, was back in November. Since then, she's suffered a relapse in her health with a very bad cold and coughing over the Christmas period, and she was so ill that they wouldn't let her travel to Windsor last week to be at the graveside of her husband 50 years after his death. Well, she had a fall yesterday. It was treated by the doctor. It's just a cut in the hand, but obviously there are deep concerns. How would she get to Windsor? Well, a 3-hour drive has been ruled out. It would just be too long and too arduous for the 101-year-old, so the best alternative would be a helicopter ride, which would be stressful in most circumstances, even for a 101-year-old, but it would only take 45 minutes and they could land her right in the grounds of Windsor Castle. That decision expected to come, as we say, in the next couple of hours, but the Queen Mother is determined to be at the funeral of Princess Margaret tomorrow.
Alan, for the time being, thank you very much. The Territorial Army could be used to defend key UK targets such as airports and nuclear reactors from terrorist attack. The expanded role for the part-time soldiers is to be unveiled today and comes in the wake of the September the 11th attacks. The TA is expected to take on the role of a Homeland Defence Force, similar to that of the United States National Guard. Some of Hollywood's A-list stars turned out for the Film Critics Awards in London last night. Oscar nominee Nicole Kidman was upbeat as she flew in from Sweden to support the event, which also raises money for the NSPCC. The critics love Nicole so much in Moulin Rouge and the others, they voted her Actress of the Year. Coming up to 20 to 7, time now for the news, the weather and the travel, where you're waking up this morning.
Good morning.
Highest crime rate outside London.
We all want to be safe. We all want to get from A to B in the safest possible time.
I haven't been a bit to myself, but where I live, it's a very studenty area. There's a lot of muggings carry on. It's quite a dangerous place. I feel quite unsafe going home by myself. I have to get people to meet me at the end of my street.
I'm looking around now and I can't see any police officers, so I feel as though there should be more police officers on the street, definitely.
Well, Carl Dinner's in Greater Manchester for us this morning. Morning, Carl.
Morning, Kate. Yes, I'm in Barry, just north of Manchester, and in quite a nice, quiet residential area. But on this street where we're standing, just last Friday, Lavinia Williams was on her way home from work when she was attacked. Now, Lavinia has very bravely come out to join us this morning. Lavinia, tell us what happened to you here.
Well, I was walking out from work, literally a couple of yards from home, and I heard something and looked to the right-hand side. Next thing I felt, something hit me in the side of the face, I fell to the ground and I've been hit in the head where I've had stitches.
You still got the mark on your head where you were hit?
I have, yeah.
And the police thought you were hit by what?
A brick.
And that was for what? You were mugged, weren't you?
I was. My bag's taken. Not much in it. Phone, vouchers, no money.
So that vicious an attack for not very much, really. How's that made you feel?
At the minute it's hard because I'm still in shock. But this is the first time I've been out in the dark. I've not moved out of the house apart from with my partner. Just nervous. Can't relax. Don't want to be on my own.
What are your thoughts about the person who did this? What would you say to them?
It's not anger, it's... I don't know what to do. He could have just asked for it, I would have given him the bag. It's not worth fighting over.
It's actually the violence that's the shocking thing about what happened to you.
And it is.
There's a lot of talk about should we have more police on the streets. Do you think that could have made any difference?
Possibly, yeah, because it was only early evening. It's a quiet area as well. You normally see someone walking around. But I think, yeah, there was more police.
Okay, Lavinia, thanks very much for talking to us. Very brave of you to come out this morning. Kate.
Oh, thanks very much indeed. Thank you.
We're issuing a health warning today for children. Some as young as 2 are already showing signs of heart disease, apparently, according to a new report out this morning. And the message heart campaigners want to drive home is you're never too young to start eating healthily.
That's true, because you got to use like fruits, vitamins, and get your heart pumping.
Healthy food is right for us, but sometimes you're allowed to eat unhealthy food. And I don't want to smoke when I get older, because it just causes loads of heart diseases and all of that stuff, like cancer.
Yeah, well, that's what kids think. And with me now is a woman who's battling to get children to lead a healthier lifestyle, Dr. Alison Giles of the National Heart Forum. Kids having heart attacks. Don't believe it.
Well, what the National Heart Forum's report sets out is that actually heart disease is not a disease of middle age. It's damage to blood vessels that occurs throughout life, right from as early as age 2.
So we're isolating traits that stay with us throughout the course of our lives which lead to heart disease, or are kids of 5 getting heart disease?
No, we're isolating traits. It's a risk factor that builds up over the life course, and what we see in adults is the end point of that when we have angina or heart attacks.
So you're going to get a lot of press for this, aren't you, because of the headline thing with the children and everything else. But what do you want, who do you want to do what about this?
Well, our report, Young at Heart particularly, is aimed at government departments. We want the Department of Health to actually take nutrition seriously, to develop a whole nutrition strategy aimed at the whole population, but particularly for children and young people, because at the moment we're taking a chance with children's health. Yeah, we believe.
So there's a diet issue. I mean, do you talk to the government about school lunches?
We do, yes, and what we would like to see is that school meals are actually come under the same inspection remit as educational outcomes, so that they're inspected by Her Majesty's Inspectorate, and targets are set and monitored to make sure that they are nutritionally sound, yeah.
So staying with schools for a minute, you've got the lunch on the one hand, and then after that they're supposed to go running around in a big field at the back, but we've got playing fields being sold off at a very quick rate at the moment to private developers. It's a bit of an issue, isn't it? I mean, is there anything you can do about that? I mean, exercise must come into this.
Exercise does, and one of the things that we're very keen to see is that more time is given over in the curriculum to exercise, to make it much more, to appear much more important to children and young people. The problem with playing fields, I understand, is slowing up. They're not selling off so many now. You have to apply specifically if you want to sell off a playing field to the government. But of course, yes, the ones that have already been sold off, now schools have to make arrangements to take their children, sometimes quite far distances, in order to get them to be able to run around a field.
Yeah, that's right.
And therefore schools need greater investment in order to be able to afford to do that.
Okay, raising important subjects. Dr. Giles, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
So how can we as parents get our toddlers to lead a healthy lifestyle? Not that easy. With me now are our inch loss experts, nutritionist Amanda Russell and fitness trainer Nikki Walsh. Yes, the top stories now for you at 7. Blair dismissed it as garbage, but his links with this man continue to hit the headlines. Children as young as 2 are showing signs of heart disease. And Nicole Kidman proves a hit with the British film critics. Children as young as 2 years old are developing heart disease, according to new research. Doctors say many risk heart attacks in later life. Jonathan Swain reports.
Parents should think again before offering their children junk food. Doctors have discovered that some children as young as 2 are already showing signs of heart disease. They believe the number of children who eat fatty foods and take no exercise has never been higher. If the trend continues, death rates will soar.
So in an average class of 30 children, it's estimated that 2 of those children will go on to develop coronary heart disease, 3 will go on to develop diabetes, and about 13 will develop or become obese as adults.
The research dismisses the idea that heart disease is purely an adult illness. So doctors are insisting that children should eat less food like this and do more of that if they want to live to an old age. To combat the disease, some primary school pupils are already being taught about how it's avoided.
That's true, because you've got to use like fruits, vitamins, and get your heart pumping.
Healthy food is right for us, but sometimes you're allowed to eat unhealthy food.
Heart attacks are rare before middle age, but if children's lifestyles don't change, the potential killer could soon skip down.